hear it. Oh, it's because it's because I have the stream open. Yeah. Hello? Are we live? Are we live? We're live, I think. Hello, everyone. We take 1 week off, and all of a sudden I forgot how to do the show.
I've
What's
never
up,
done
everybody?
it before, yeah.
We're doing Runeterra Radio, I think. I don't know. I'm
Who
Blevins
even knows
with
anymore?
the, as always, the saucy mailman. What's up, man?
Hey, dude, how's it going?
Oh, nothing, no news, nothing to talk about. That's for sure.
Yeah,
Right?
as they say, the best news is no news. Oh, wait, is that a saying?
Oh, the opposite of that is
Oh,
true, but
no.
yeah, well, we're gonna okay. We're just gonna address it right off the bat, Saucy. We're gonna talk about the thing from the patch. The patch, everyone's talking about it. The big thing, the elephant in the
The big
room.
elephant in the room. Let's
Yeah.
just get it out in
Yeah.
the
The
open right at the
fact
start.
that you can now use Fizz in Lab of Legends. I mean,
And
come on.
that's the thing.
Who
We've
would've
been waiting for it this entire time, ever since Lab of Legends was first released. That's all I've wanted.
Right. I mean, really, they fixed the game with that, but
Yeah, I was
oh boy.
surprised. The one change I was expecting to see that didn't happen was that they're going to implement a new change to the AI games for single player games, where now they're going to add Azir, Irelia, Thresh Nass, and TLC into the AI queue, so you can play against the same 3 decks in AI and on ladder.
Yeah, they made Lab of Legends more realistic, so all you're going to be facing is the same 3 ladder
Yep,
decks over and over again.
just the same decks. Well, I'm ready for the show. I went
Yeah.
over to the gas station. I got a gigantic beer, so
Nice.
I'm good to go. Let's do the podcast television show.
Yes, we're doing the podcast, TV. Okay, we're jumping right into it.
Do we have housekeeping? I don't think we do, right?
Oh, the only housekeeping is that congratulations to everyone who won the giveaway. You've all been contacted in the Discord channel. So, I believe I think except everyone except for one person has gotten back to me and I've gotten them their prizes. So, yeah, that was awesome and we hope to do more of those in the Discord
Yeah.
channel.
We're gonna do more cool stuff.
Cool stuff and
We're gonna
things.
do the cool stuff and things.
Yeah. The only other piece of housekeeping is a new thing that I just got invited to yesterday, which is they're doing a charity caster tournament where the casters are playing. So people like me, Casanova, I don't know who else is playing except for us two.
I know there's you and Casanova. I
Yeah.
do know that.
I don't know who else has been invited or anything, so I don't want to speak too out of turn here, but I was given the green light to talk about it. So that should be fun. It's going to be for charity. All the details for that will be coming out soon. Check out Cephalopod on Twitter. They're a top tier competitive player, and they want to run a cool little role reversal tournament where the players are going to be casting us as casters. And I mean, I'm definitely gonna win that tournament. By the way, all these other casters are washed.
Yeah, you'll easily win. But then the only thing I'm worried about, specifically for your sake, is when everyone realizes how much better the players are at casting the games than like you
Right.
all are. So that's gonna be
It's gonna be really bad
spicy
for my career, but that's okay.
for your career. Yeah, it's fine. It's okay.
At least I'll win a tournament for charity. That's really all that matters, right?
True. True. Every time I win a tournament, it's also for charity. Just the me charity.
Yeah, the charity is you.
Yes, specifically.
But yeah, that should be fun. That's gonna be on June 17th. More details and whatnot will be out. But that's just a fun thing. But okay, Saucy, we have one thing to talk about and one thing only, and that's the actual patch. And boy, we got a freaking novel to start it off.
Yeah, yeah. So it's patch 2.9.z. Oh wait, no,
Yeah.
0. And the It is. It's so this patch. I'm gonna preface it by
Yeah.
it may not have changed or shaken up the game very much, but holy
Yes.
shit, is it the most impactful patch at shaking up the community I've ever seen
Yeah.
by
This
a
one.
lot.
Ooh, yeah.
I don't think I've ever gotten so many like so I was streaming while it went live and we went over it while it was live. The amount of messages I got in my inbox on Twitter
Yeah.
and like at mentions was wild to
Yeah.
say the least.
Yeah. So this one. So, we'll start off by saying, in the pre-show, Saucy and I were talking about how it is pretty rare that we both agree with the community on almost anything
Yeah.
at large, right? We're usually like, well, these whippersnappers don't know what it was like.
Yeah.
You don't get it. You're not thankful for
We usually
anything.
will reference Magic the Gathering in like 10
Right.
different obscure contexts about
Right.
Gataxian Probe or something.
Yeah, mental misstep.
Yeah.
But yeah, I kind of feel it a little bit for the community, at least in general. I think, like most times, you know, a lot of people give feedback that the content of which, or the synopsis of which, might be well intentioned but is executed poorly,
Yeah.
aka they're being dicks about it.
Yeah.
But um the rage and frustration of the community is palpable for sure right now. And it really encompasses a lot of different things, which we'll talk about. And I mean, we got a novel here, from
Which we are not
Dovagetti's,
gonna read.
which we're not gonna read. But you can read through it yourself. Go to playruneterra.com/news, and check out the patch notes here. But basically, the TLDR is encapsulated a lot of what was in the Reddit post from Dovagetti's, which we
Yeah.
talked about on a previous episode. They talk about the Talia and Malphite buffs, which we'll talk about in a second. They basically say they love the play pattern of Azir Aurelia as well as Blade Dance. They've learned, yeah. I think the TLDR is like, they don't want to do too much to change things drastically. And so, knowing that context, we go into the patch notes themselves.
Where nothing is changed drastically.
Yeah. So we start here with Talia, who got a 1/1 buff.
There it
I'm
is.
trying to think if
Talia's tier 1.
I'm trying to think if they're, well, okay, so let's I'm gonna try to take the negativity glasses off and say that we have actually seen a number of cards that have gotten significantly more play rate and have been much better from a +1/+1, or even as
Yeah.
a +1/+0 buff. I mean, think about Avaros and Trapper. When it was a 2/3, never saw play at all. It's a 3/3, and all of a sudden it's a pretty widely used card. So I don't want to take too much away from that. Obviously Talia being a 3/5 is much better than her being a 2/4.
Yeah.
But
The one extra health means you can block one
yeah,
extra blade. So that's
true,
good.
true.
That's good. I like to reference everything in mathematical terms that players will
Right,
understand.
right.
It's how many blades can you block before you're dead,
It's
and that's
true,
one
and
more.
you can also block one more Azir leveled up buffed blade as well, which
Yep,
is which
which is
is uh,
big.
which
That's
is
like
quite big.
17 damage to your Nexus.
Yeah.
So not too bad. No, so yeah, I mean, so Talia is one of my favorite champions in the game. I've got her at
Mhm.
Mastery 4. I play her all the time. No, she's not good. I mean,
Yeah.
from a competitive winning game standpoint, the card is poopy, but she's
Yeah.
super 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 fun. She does cool stuff. She's a cool combo champion.
Mhm.
This doesn't fix any of the problems that make her bad, but it does help. I mean, it is a strictly a
Right.
buff. Like it's not worse.
Right.
It's not a weird burf or something. It is better.
Yeah.
So that technically better.
Yeah, I agree with everything you said about Talia. I mean, I was playing the Turbo Thralls deck, which by the way, soon TM there should be a Turbo Thralls deck tech video that I did on the Runeterra YouTube channel. And if you're not already subscribing, youtube.com/c/Runeterra Radio. Um, and I'm playing the Turbo Thralls deck, and I just cut Talia because she's just not
Oh,
necessary.
she's way worse than
Like,
it. Like it's I like the version I've been playing a version with Zillion, which is easily the worst card in the deck. It's just better with Lysandra by herself, but
yeah, I was running
she's
the mono
fun.
Lysandra.
She's fun. Like you can do some crazy
Yeah,
goofy stuff, especially with Promise Future, and like you can do
yeah.
stuff with like Salt Rock Boys, and it's
Mm-hmm.
fun. Um, but yeah, it's tough. Even the presence of I mean, just the presence of Azir Aurelia owning the entire meta means cards like Rock Hopper can't be played anymore. Like that card is just completely unusable. Because Dune Keeper nullifies it and Emperor's Dais nullifies it, and so does Blade Dance, and so does Azir. So
Yeah,
like being able to like that's gonna hurt this deck, and it hurts Malphite. Malphite also got a buff.
yeah.
This one's a little more significant. It matters a little more, but it made
Mm-hmm.
it to where you can level him up by summoning 10 plus mana of landmarks instead of 12 plus mana of landmarks, which
Yep.
Helps. Like it definitely that
Yeah,
is a buff. That is strictly a buff. Like
yeah.
mathematically speaking,
That's
10 is
yeah.
less than 12. It just is.
Well, that's
Easy.
like Eye of the Raharak is just
Yeah.
automatically leveling
The
him up
Raha
now, right?
Durahaha Durahaha
Yeah.
now levels him up.
My problem is that Malphite is still just like underwhelming in
He still gets
general.
blocked by a 1/1 Dunekeeper body. He is he
Yeah,
is a big old 6 or 7 11 rock or whatever when he's leveled,
yeah,
and a spider blocks him. Like, get out of the way, mountain.
yeah. I Malphite just feels so like it's weird because I feel like Malphite should feel splashy and big and do something crazy, and he's like honestly the most vanilla champion that there is.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of Darius is more Darius is slightly more vanilla than Malphite, but
Yeah, a
not by
little bit.
much.
The like and the one of the biggest problems I talk about it all the time. Again, prefacing this, I love Malphite and I think he's fun. Not
Yeah,
gonna lie and say he's good. One of the
right.
big problems is you need a board in order to win with him because you're winning by stunning their board and
Hmm.
attacking with your units, but you're playing all these shitty landmarks that are taking up board space.
Yeah,
So it's just like it's really weird. And him not having any sort of evasive ability or ways to hit the Nexus Overwhelm, Fearsome, whatever,
right.
uh, makes it difficult to win the game with him.
Yeah, it's just yeah,
I am
Malphite.
happy. I'm happy about these. I'm not
Right.
happy about them. I'm happy that there are buffs. I'm not
Hmm.
happy with the buffs themselves. I don't think they matter, but I mean, they're two champions I love, so if they're gonna give any love to them, I mean, they didn't touch Zillion, which is also an unplayable champion, so
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah, I'm wondering. Well, maybe this sets them up to be more playable when the new set comes out.
Yeah,
So I guess we'll
which is soon.
yeah, which is soon. Yes, so we'll have to wait and see. But yeah, I mean the TLDR for these buffs is that they feel at least at an initial glance to be completely irrelevant. So
Yeah,
yeah, we'll move on from that. And here we got two more. So first off, if you haven't seen the patch notes, that's the end of the champion changes.
that is all of them.
Well, actually, technically, that's not true. There
Oh
was a
yeah,
bug that was fixed.
there's a
That is,
sneaky buff in the
yeah,
bug fixes, but we'll
yeah.
get to
Which
that.
we'll just bring up now. Aurelia should now correctly create Blade Surge in hand on attack the turn she levels up. So was she not doing that before?
So
Interesting.
now, if you attack with her and she levels up while attacking, she gets a blade surge.
Oh, that. Oh. Yeah, that is a bug fix that is just a a massive buff. As someone who has played a lot of this deck, the number of times I have attacked like I've made like suboptimal attacks just so that I will level up Aurelia an attack swing earlier or like an action earlier is a lot because getting that blade surge is so powerful. Getting her leveled up and getting attack set up is so powerful.
Yeah, because they can't
And-
block anything without
right.
dying.
Wow. Wow. Yeah, that's just insane. So a massive buff to Aurelia actually in the form of a bug fix. But the other changes here,
Now,
Blossoming
I
Blade.
will
Oh
I
yeah.
will defend this one, in the fact that for consistency's sake, it does make sense because when
Sure.
she levels up, she should create that blade surge, just the way that it's written on the card and how the card works, consistency with
Right.
other champions. I'll defend that forever because consistency is one thing that I
Yeah.
just have a problem with in card games to begin with. Like, and it happens
Hmm.
in all of them. Like when cards don't work the way they should, it's really frustrating.
Yeah.
So that should be like that. Absolutely. But
Yeah.
it still
It's a massive buff.
increases the power level of a deck that doesn't need help at the moment.
Yeah, it's actually a massive buff. Which is crazy. So, yeah, the other two changes is there's only two more changes. They're both two Azir Aurelia cards here.
Yep.
We've got Blossoming Blade, who's going from a 4 mana 3/3 up to a 5 mana 4/3. Still has Blade Dance too. Still serves the same purpose. I will say that this, if the rest of the deck weren't so insanely good and powerful, this change would actually be pretty
Yeah.
impactful. If there weren't so many other things
Hmm.
that were actually like keeping the deck held together, right? Like if every other piece of the machine wasn't running so efficiently, this actually is a
Yeah.
pretty impactful nerf.
I think
Um,
that it fits the card and its effect better at 5 mana. I think it's more reasonable for sure.
yeah. Um, And then the other change is Inspiring Marshal going from a 5 mana 4/6 to a 6 mana 4/5. So the old double nerf,
Yeah.
which for what it's worth, we rarely see.
The
We rarely
derf.
see the double the derf, the double nerf.
Yeah.
Um this again, my comment stands for Blossoming Blade. If the rest of the deck wasn't such a well-oiled machine and there weren't so many other things that were doing this effect for cheaper, and if Inspiring Marshal were like a key piece of the deck that needed to come online to win every game, this would be an impactful nerf. But this
Yeah.
is just like, if you're looking at, I don't know why this came to mind, but like you're looking at an entire food menu at like McDonald's or something, and it's like, let's just pretend that you like everything at McDonald's. Chicken nuggets are good, cheeseburgers good, French fries are good. Like it's like, okay, so we increased the cost of ketchup by one, and we nerfed lettuce slightly. It's like,
Yeah.
okay, well, the burger, and I'll just take my burger with slightly more expensive ketchup, and my fries are untouched. They're still great.
Yeah,
You know,
exactly.
like it makes no difference. Everything else is so good in the deck and works so well
Yeah.
together that like these things, people are already experimenting with just replacing Inspiring Marshal with the 4 mana one that does the same
Yeah.
thing if
The voice of the
there's
risen.
Voice of the Risen.
Yeah.
Honestly, I think that people may be stumbling on the fact that Voice of the Risen was better than Inspiring Marshal all along.
Yeah.
Like,
No, it's interesting. Like, I think you hit the nail on the head. I think this is a merited nerf. It
yes.
is too efficient as a card, just in
Hmm.
general. Comparing it to other cards, et cetera, et cetera. 6 health is near impossible to ever kill this thing, especially as a
Yeah.
backline unit that never attacks. Um, but yeah, like it's not a key. It's more of kind of a win more card. If you play it, you're guaranteed to win. Like you just can't lose from there. But most of the time, you don't need it to win. It's just if
Right.
you're already winning, you probably win really good when this is out there.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah. I don't think I like it may potentially slow it down, but I think you just like the rest of the deck is what's functioning, and I feel like
Right.
Voice of the Risen is always leveled up on curve on
Yep.
turn 4 as a 4 mana 3/4 that does the same effect. And it's a backline card. Like you don't attack
Mhm.
with Inspiring Marshal. Like you don't care
Right.
about its body.
But the thing is you can attack with it. That's the,
Yeah, you
that's the,
can. And then you
that's the
swap 7
crazy
or 8
part.
times and like make all these
Right.
shitty blocks from your opponent.
Well, it's like it's like it it's not Chillwind Yeti's the Hearthstone card. It's Bull Elnuck. It's got Bull Elnuck
Yeah,
stats. That is a thick, sturdy boy. Is
yeah,
Bull Elnuck. So yeah, I don't even want to go into like my proposed changes because people on Twitter and Reddit have given like a million different potential changes that would be impactful. I'm sure you could rattle off a bunch that would be that would have been impactful. But the at the end of the day, that's not what happened, and that's not what Riot is doing. So I'm not even gonna put forth anything there for changes. I do want to go back to I do want to put a pin in those changes because I think the majority of what we're going to be talking about is in regards to that and the meta and the sentiment around that. But I do want to talk about some of the cool things that happened in the patch too before we devolve into madness.
yeah.
Devolve further into madness, rather. We did get some awesome updates to Lab of Legends.
Like impactful, like gigantic ones, which is like
Yes.
really good.
Which is really cool and really good. And I know that given the context of what we are just talking about, that sounds like it's sarcastic, but it's actually not. It's actually cool.
Yeah.
So we're getting new champions. Aurelia, Zillion, Malphite, Lissandra, and Fizz are now all in the champion roster. And we get a Malphite card back for completing a run with each of them, which is
Yep.
sweet.
Yeah.
Card backs, I think, like,
Give me
they
more.
give out card backs are sweet. They give out the player icons, they give those out a dime a dozen. Like who cares about those? I mean,
Yeah.
they're cool, but like
Whatever.
come on. Card backs I feel like are like another tier of they're like the next tier up, right? Is there anything yeah, it's like icons are like those are like, I could go with them never putting a new icon in the game. I don't care. Card backs are nice. That's a step up. Guardians are nice, and then boards, of course. I mean, if they're good boards, then um,
If they're ones you can interact with, the
yeah, if
good
they're ones
boards.
that you can click. Um, yeah, our producer is saying that they didn't even know that there were icons in the game.
Yeah.
That's just how impactful that they are.
Yeah.
I mean, they're not bad. It's just like, I mean, I feel this way about icons in every game. Like, I just literally never care about them.
Yeah.
Unless
But
there's like millions of them. Yeah.
to add to this, because this is an insane amount of content, they also added the support champions of Sejuani, Leona, Yauso, and Victor.
Yauso, I think that's a
Yauso
new
and Victor.
champion.
Yeah,
Might
he's
be a
a
new
new one there.
champion.
I guess that's new content too.
Yeah.
And 18 new powers, including
Wow.
10 common ones, 5 rare ones, and 3 epic ones. And they updated Talia's deck to be a little less dog shit.
Wow. Wow.
That's a lot.
I,
Like Lab
that
of
is a
Legends is
lot.
sweet.
Lab of Legends is really sweet, and we talked about this on some of the previous episodes. Sean Main, who I believe I might be misquoting this, but my sentiment is there. They were the lead designer on I think they were Targon set designer, or they were heavily involved in the Targon set.
Yeah.
I believe their new position is on the Lab of Legends
Yeah.
team. So they're like designing Lab of Legends content.
That's
which
so
is like,
cool.
oh yeah, which is super awesome because I think that is really like Lab of Legends has brought a lot of people to the game. At least anecdotally, I've seen people who like they always play Lab of Legends, and then maybe that gives them more interest in playing competitively or just playing more, building their own decks, or just playing Lab of Legends as a solo game.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
What's
and no,
it's he's probably got like the best job on the Runeterra team right now
right.
because anything they come out with Lab of Legends is gonna be celebrated. No matter what it is. It's just like
Yeah.
more content. Yes, we get to do more of this
Right.
cool mode. I greatly sympathize with anyone who's in charge of any balance at all for a card game. No matter what, if it's this game, Gwent, Hearthstone, Magic,
Yeah.
whatever, if you're on a balanced team, you're always the villain to someone. And so,
Right.
no matter what you do, no matter what
Yeah.
it is, you're going to be complained about.
Mhm.
So you have to have like Malphite level skin to like not have to
Yeah.
take that stuff to heart. Because I mean, it's got to be tough. Like I totally
Oh, I
get it
can't imagine.
right now. I saw a couple people. It might have been Jason Florent was talking about like don't get mad. Like don't go out there personally attacking Riot devs.
Oh,
Please
definitely
stop
don't do
doing that. That's stop being shitty because there was a lot of raw tweets and Reddit was a war. I don't go on Reddit. I'm not a redditor. I stay away because I can't handle the anger that goes on that website. But I
Yeah.
saw a lot of people coming into my stream and giving me updates, and people in Discord were talking about the amount of posts that were being removed by Reddit mods today,
Yeah.
in regards to posts about today's patch have been unmatched.
Yeah. It's it's crazy. Like I mean, I feel like it goes without saying, but we'll say it anyway. Like, don't do that. It's just like we mentioned before. Like, try to be constructive or tactful with your feedback, because again, I do think that the you can't discredit the feelings that you have for when a new patch comes out, and uh like, I think it's important, especially when the community comes around and has a consensus on something like this, that gets communicated in a constructive way, because then, as we've seen multiple times before, I think this is definitely an exception. This patch specifically is an exception. Riot has risen to the occasion and made changes and has updated things and has done a lot of good in terms of, keeping the game in a healthy state.
Yeah,
Um but when people are attack, I mean, when you're doing stupid stuff, expect a stupid response, right? Or don't expect any response. I think people discredit the devs and whatnot so quickly, um, and wonder why they become less public, right? Like,
yeah.
when every time Ruben goes on a stream and the whole chat is just like piling on and asking dumb questions
Yeah, and
and saying
berating
dumb
for
things and being
stupid
mean.
shit. Yeah.
Right. It's like, well, okay, I guess I just like every time I show my face, you make it a completely awful environment to be around.
I don't
Guess I'm
want to
not
show
going
my
to do
face.
that anymore, you
Yeah.
know?
People complaining about all their weird bullshit pet cards. They're like, when's Sanctum Conservator gonna get a buff? And just like stuff that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, it's just like, don't be stupid.
Yeah.
But I will say again, it harkens to the point. I don't remember if we talked about this on an episode or if I was talking about it on stream or if we were talking whichever. But the long and short of it is, there's two sides to the coin, right? And in the preamble to this patch, as well as the Reddit post that Dovagetti's pointed out, like, there's a lot of empirical stats based evidence and just stats in general that show a certain thing, right? And there's people reacting emotionally to, like, oh, I hate playing against Zerelia. That deck's broken, right? My opponent played poorly. They still won. I couldn't do anything, right? Now you can show that 52% win rate CAC W, right? Like, okay, that may be true, but what's also true is that people aren't having fun playing against it. So, like,
Yeah.
and the thing that I've been saying that I think really encapsulates this, that again, it's rare that we agree not entirely, but we agree with the general sentiment of the community, but like, you can't use a like logical equation to prove why someone should be having fun. It's just not like, it doesn't make sense. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, you're in Disneyland, you're at Disneyland and you have ice cream and you like ice cream and it's 70 degrees and that's nice weather. Therefore, you should be having fun. If you're not having fun, hearing that's not going to help you, right?
Yeah. Like if
Like,
there's
oh,
external things
of
like
course.
exactly like, whoa, wait,
Oh, duh.
I
Oops,
should be
I
having
forgot.
fun right now.
Yeah.
Shit. No one told
You,
me.
yeah, you don't go into the game and be like, oh, I just got dumpstered by a Zerelia, but golly, I must have been one of the 48%. Like,
Yeah, it's hard. Like you can't math people's enjoyment, right?
right.
There's I think a lot of this patch and a lot of the community uproar and like I've read out so many twit longers today, aren't even specifically about the even like the few balance changes they made and what
Right.
deck is strongest, what deck isn't, etc. It's not specifically even as narrow focus as that. Um, a lot of it is just the cadence and the like philosophy behind balance changes now as a whole. Like when the game first came out, one of the biggest things that I know I was personally excited about, a lot of people
Yeah.
from other card games were they were willing to just do crazy shit for balance and be like, it's fine, we're
Right.
gonna change. Like we're balancing every other week. So if we have
Yeah.
some insane, if this card is way too strong right now, that's fine. You're dealing with it for a week, 2 weeks max. Now it's like, hey, we know this is too strong. The community knows it's too strong. Maybe deal with it for a couple months because nothing's gonna
Right.
change, and
Oh,
that's really hard.
yeah. I'm wondering because they did address this a while ago, and the TLDR is basically like they fucked up, like early on, and they had a stated, though I don't recall how publicly this was stated, but they had a cadence that they were internally supposed to keep to, which was
Yeah,
not as rapid as it ended up being. So basically, they broke their own rule so many times that we as the community thought it was the norm. Remember the whole the Boulevard recording I had meme where he went through and like chronicled everything. He had a really good post about it. That happened because Riot essentially they admitted this, messed up, and broke their own cadence rules too many times so that we as the community got used to this. Well,
yeah,
the response, like, again, you can't use logic to change the feelings of something or how
yeah,
we are feeling about it. But so the response is like one of two things has to happen. Like something needs to change, right? Either the community sentiment about how they want to receive patches and balance changes needs to change, or Riot needs to essentially say, okay, our internal cadence is now shot because we fucked it, and we're now going to do more balance changes more often. Well, they went with the former, or at least they're trying to, right? They're like, okay, we're just going to stick to the our internally prescribed balance change cadence. But like we still are expecting this because this is what we got, right? We can't change.
yeah,
It's like, oh well, like and I do this and I try to think about things. I always try to think about things like what is Riot saying? Why are or what are the devs saying? We should look at it through the lens of that so that I'm not surprised by anything. But the problem is like even if I know like, oh, this patch, for instance, like I know we're going to be on this patch for what, a month or
yeah,
more. That doesn't make me feel better about it. In fact, it makes us feel much worse. And
yeah,
it seems counterintuitive to me when we have changes like this, like, the Talia and Malphite changes seem so irrelevant comparatively. And
yeah,
which would be fine if we were getting them every week. It's like, okay, we do a little bit this week, we do a little bit next week, we do a little bit. It's like, nope, we're doing a little bit now, and then in a month we might do a little bit more, or they can get swept under the rug and never addressed again. So
yeah.
it's tough.
It is very tough, and I mean, so if you know me, which I'm assuming if you're listening to this podcast, you probably know who I am. Otherwise, hey, what's up? I'm Saucy Mailman. Let's get dinner sometime. But I am a very optimistic, positive person. I am
Hmm.
always the let's look at what could be going. Anytime that there's something that looks grim, I'm like, okay, this is
Hmm.
happening, but maybe there's gonna be a in the next set. There may be a card that interacts with this unfavorably, so they're preemptively nerfing or
Right.
they're leaving things like I'm always the one that defends every patch. I've never talked bad about a
Yeah.
patch. I'm always like, here's the good things about it. Here's what's the positive. I'm a very optimistic, positive guy. I always like to look at the bright side of everything. I always have
Hmm.
fun. I've never hated a meta in this card game. I've always been like, yeah, something may be shitty, but here's some fun things that you can do.
All of your
And
apps are in light mode.
yeah, exactly. They're not though because light mode is bad for your eyes.
True.
Especially when you have cyborg eyes like me. But this is the first time I am not enjoying Runeterra. This was the first time that my last couple streams I've cut early because I just can't handle playing against one deck over and over. And this is the very first patch. I read the patch notes live and I got sad. I was disappointed. I felt let down that
Hmm.
nothing changed. Like this is literally a nothing patch. Nothing changes.
Yeah.
For the balance patch, nothing like nothing got addressed with Nasus Thresh, so that deck is not
Yep.
changed. Nothing got addressed with TLC, so,
Yep.
and it's just like we have the same good decks that we've had for months, and it's the same shit, and I'm just tired of the
Yeah.
same shit.
Well, yeah, and normally my first response would be because a lot of times this criticism comes way too early of a deck or of
Yeah,
archetypes, right? Where it's like week one, day one is like, oh, I lost to Thresh Nasus, or
yeah, and I was like, just
I
get
lost to
better.
Azirarelia day one. It's too broken, nerf it. It's like shut up and try to beat it.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
but people have been trying to do that. Like there have been the Zed Snooze bottom deck. There's been all manner of dragons decks. There's been the Turbo Thralls, all these things that come out. And granted, Turbo Thralls is not really trying to beat Azirarelia, but the point stands that like there has been a lot of trying. Actually, the best example I would say is discard aggro. And
Yeah,
spider aggro and whatnot. Everyone was trying to say, okay, well, I'm gonna try to go underneath the Azirarelia deck and try to beat it. And like I think it worked out. Like the discard aggro matchup, I know this because I've been casting it since Azirarelia
yeah,
came out. It started out as like, okay, you can get underneath it, but after there's been some refinements to the deck for Azirarelia and also some just like play style rules of thumb and optimizations, like I don't feel any of the counter decks that have come out are really actually very good against Azirarelia in general. Now they might have a positive win rate maybe against those against Azirarelia, but it's deceptive because it's not the times that the unfavored Azirarelia wins. It's not all like it was very close and then in they lose a coin flip and they lose the game. It's some of those games. It's Azirarelia has that draw, and you know what I'm talking about if you played with or against the deck, and it beats everything no matter what.
yeah. If
Um,
they get the sparring student 1 or 2 with Emperor's Dais into Azir, you lose.
Yeah, honestly, it's just like if they have Emperor's Dais into Azir into Blade Dance, that draw is unbeatable by so much, and it's counterable. It's dealable for at least the immediate future by some decks.
Yeah,
But if there's any other follow up, it doesn't matter what the deck is or what it was doing; they just lose, right?
yeah.
It's
I don't.
really tough.
It's so hard, and this is where I go back to. I don't envy the game devs at all for the
No,
situation right now for balance
no,
whatever.
yeah,
The deck itself, its play pattern and how it works is so difficult to balance since it's attacking 28 times on each turn. Like
mhm,
it's very hard. And I've had, it doesn't matter how much you heal, that doesn't counter it.
right.
I've had games where I had like 2 Radiant Guardians and
Oh yeah,
I had like a 20 some attack Victor with tough and lifesteal and
hmm
still lost to the deck.
right.
It's still, it's crazy. So it's hard. It's hard to balance, and also like the deck, it's really hard because just being the guy to say it, it is a fun deck to play and win with. Like rolling over your opponents by turn 3, 4 is a
Yeah,
fun thing to do in card games. Um,
yeah.
but it's a little too consistent at it and a little too easy to do. Like I played it. I'm gonna take off your bingo sheet. I'm going to talk about Magic for a second. I
Yep.
played Combo Infect for a long time in Legacy and Magic, and that's a
Uh-huh.
game where you not consistently, but it had turn 2, turn 3 wins. You
Yeah.
play one unit, you make it really big the next turn, you swing in. If they don't have an answer, you win. But it was very counterable. Like there's ways you
Right.
can deal with that. You can kill the thing you're going in on. But
Mhm.
the games where you win on turn 2, 2 games in a row in a tournament, and you're just like, sorry, I got the
Mhm.
thing. Like it feels good to be that guy. So
Yeah.
I can't villainize anyone for playing the deck. I get it. It's super fun. Like Blevins hit master with it, I'm pretty sure
I did.
yesterday,
I
two
did
days ago.
yesterday. Yeah.
But it's not Blevins' fault that the deck is good. You didn't make the deck. Like if you're
It's
trying to
true.
hit
I didn't.
master, if you're trying to qualify for, the World Cup of Runeterra and all that shit, like you should be playing the good decks. It's not your fault that the
Yeah.
good decks are ruining the game for me.
Well, yeah. There's a couple of things that I wanna piggyback off of that. The first is the Infect deck. I think is a really good example of how that can be done well.
Yeah.
because that deck is very powerful and can win. Like you said, on like turn 2,
Yeah.
and it's, to again, check off your bingo card because we're going to use magic jargon. It's goldfish turn.
Yeah.
Can be turn 2, right? There might even no, I don't actually know if maybe some builds the deck can win on turn 1, but like turn 2 is a goldfish turn where it can win.
Yep.
Um but like you said, it's counterable. So it's actually it's very powerful. Its power level is very high. Try to get this in frame so that at least the YouTube people can see it. The power level is very high, but it's very narrow, right?
Yeah.
So like if you stop the visual metaphor doesn't work anymore, but you can stop it very easily, right? Like you said,
Mhm.
you can have like, I don't know, lightning bolt to kill the unit, and sometimes at least or if you have 2 removal spells, a lot of time at least the turn 2 win is stopped, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Um, you can deal with it. You can sideboard in against it. I'm sure that there are some sideboard cards that the deck literally can't beat and you just lose. In the same way that like Dredge in Legacy as well. Like
Yeah.
it's can have those like turn 0, turn 1, turn 2 wins, but like your opponent full mulls for Leyline of the Void and you
And you
just
lose.
lose.
And
You
you go,
just lose, right?
next
The
game.
the problem is not that you can have these insanely powerful draws, it's that in a Zerarelia, you have those, and there's it goes to talking about the inspiring marshal and cutting out the inspiring marshal doesn't do shit because Azir does that.
Yeah.
Aurelia does that to a lesser extent. The
Emperor's Deus is
Emperor's
basically
Deus,
close enough.
all those every piece of that deck synergizes so well together and comes together so consistently that you can cut. It's like a Hydra, right? You can cut off
Yeah.
one of the heads. There's 6 more. It doesn't
Yeah.
matter.
And it's even more
Yeah,
difficult because when you're taking competitive play into the equation, like
right.
Azir Aurelia doesn't even do the most amazing in a tournament setting because you can build a lineup to ban that deck and not
Yeah, well,
worry.
yeah. It actually does nothing. That was actually the second point I was gonna make.
Yeah.
I think that this goes to a deeper rooted issue that I have literally I've been talking about since before I even really got into casting or doing really anything in the competitive Runeterra scene. My initial premise from the very beginning is you want to have the TLDR is you want to practice how you're going to play in a competitive setting, right? It's
Yep.
why when you do scrimmages in sports, right? There's obviously like, you're not going full out a lot of the time, especially if you're scrimmaging against yourself, but you are practicing the way that you're going to play on the biggest stage.
Yep.
Unfortunately, right now for Legends of Runeterra, that's just not how it works because ladder is its own siloed thing and tournament play is its own siloed thing, and there's very little like the cards are the same, the cards do the same thing, and you're playing in the game, it's the same thing. But like you said, Saucy, you go on and you're playing on ladder, you're playing a Zerarelia 70% of the time. You can play in a tournament where you literally never have to play against it.
Yeah.
You can ban it every single time and never have to play against it. Those two things are completely different, and that's where a lot of this comes in. So you can't use the competitive tournament scene to even bolster any argument and vice versa for the ladder because it does they're completely siloed. There's
Yeah.
there's no there's no real crossover. And that I think is an inherent problem that needs to be addressed. And that was my initial premise coming into the competitive scene at all. I mean, I had conversations with Casanova before we even had the idea for Giant Slayer
Yeah.
fight night, where it's like if you're gonna do something, have like if we're talking to Riot and they want ideas, like have the way that people play every day be the same way that they play in a tournament. That's what Magic does, right? I mean, Magic
Yeah.
Online did this. There's a lot of things that Magic Online has done poorly. That is the thing that they did right. You, on a day-to-day basis, you're playing tournaments, you're firing off an 8-player draft, and that 8-player draft is the same fucking format and the same draft that you would be playing in the top 8 of a pro tour at the
Yeah.
highest possible level.
Yeah, and it's the same for like Magic, even Magic Arena. Like I don't love
Yeah.
Standard and I don't love Magic Arena, but you can choose. Do you want to play Best of One, which is a specific way to play Magic Arena, or do
Yeah.
you want to play Best of Three, which is the way you play paper Magic in tournaments? Like you can choose to play the way that you would play at like a Friday Night Magic event or something.
Right. Yeah.
It's
So
it's tough. It's really tough, and
yeah.
I get kind of confused because no one. Okay, I'm not gonna say no one because people are on the internet, but less
Yeah.
people are gonna complain for things changing more often than shit being stale for months at a time.
Right.
And that's
Well,
just
and the
why I
other
feel right now. I'm just kind of like
right.
bored.
Well, the other thing is, like, unlike Magic, where well, you can't really change cards in Magic, but unlike Magic, where like you legitimately have to worry about standard, limited, draft and sealed, modern, pioneer, whatever the fuck that is, historic,
Historic.
whatever the fuck that is, legacy. I mean, they don't put an equal focus on all those things, but like you kind of have to have those at least in the back of your mind, knowing that they exist as real formats when
Yeah,
you print a card, right? Um, eh, so, but in Legends of Runeterra, what are the things that actually matter? Tournament and ladder.
ladder.
And it seems like the core of Legends of Runeterra right now is the ladder, not the tournaments. That's
Yeah,
just I think the way that the first year of Runeterra has been. They've obviously been expanding more into that with seasonals, and that's great. But it seems like that is a very small tip of an iceberg, and the bigger part is ladder. So like, let's just focus on ladder. Tournaments will figure it out, right? And like, even if the tournament scene is detrimental to this, and this is coming as someone who cares mostly about, if not exclusively about tournaments, right? Being a caster, um, like, make the ladder experience better and the tournament players will figure it out because like the degens and the tryhards and the most competitive people are going to play what's going to help them win if there's incentive enough to do it, right? And it
yeah.
might suck, and like, again, Cawblade was probably too strong at its time, but all the top players played it, and someone like Jerry T won every freaking SCG for 6 months because they were the best player at the mirror
Exactly.
match, and they won everything, and they reap the rewards of it.
And
Um,
like we have like a double-edged sword specifically with this patch
yeah,
right here with 2.9 is one, balance changes are happening less frequently, but
yeah,
two, there's just like considerably less of them. Like another
right,
one of the like breaking their own rules thing that happened is at the very start of the game, one of their things they said is they wanted every card to be viable in some aspect of the game at some point. And so we would
right.
see a lot of buffs to stuff that wasn't seeing play. It's when we're, this card's never been played. We'll up the
Mm,
stats a little bit, whatever makes
right.
someone happy. Um,
Yeah.
and we don't like. There's so many cards that are just useless. Even if they just put in a bunch of fluff balance changes, that's not going to affect anything.
Mm-hmm.
Make the Sanctum Conservator a little better. Make
Yeah.
the whatever the Raz Blood Main, the 7 mana 6/6 fearsome that
Excuse me. What?
that card, whatever, just stuff that
What card is that?
Raz Bloodmane, the very popular card that's seeing a lot of play. Stuff like that.
I'll
Like
take your word for it.
it's the one that's riding like two crocodiles and it's got a spear. It's the Shurima 7-drop. That again, no one's played.
Card
Uh
that definitely exists. Yep. Yep.
exactly. Like there's if they were to just change more shit, I think a lot of people would be less mad than I watched
There it is.
uh there it is.
Our
We have it
producer's
on
on
screen.
top of it. Yes, Raz
Leave it to Saucy to
Bloodmane.
pull a random card out of my ass. Um, like I watched Swim's balance video today,
Yeah.
because he's a good friend, and I was surprised to see him because he's on vacation. He took a
Yeah.
vacation and he still did a balance video. He's
Yeah.
like, all right, let's go through them all. He like, all right, here's the changes, and then he's scrolling down. Wait, where? That's it?
Yeah.
All right, I guess we're done. It's just comical.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I saw the clip of BBG like going through it, and like, I mean, Saucy, you're in the same boat. I know you feel, similar, or like the initial impact at least is similar. It's like, what do I do?
Yeah,
Right? Like as a content creator for LOR, like that streaming ladder, like, uh, what are you supposed to do? You
And
know?
it's tough because like I'm always a proponent. I don't care what the best deck is. I
Yeah.
don't care what the worst deck is. Like you can nerf my favorite deck into the ground. I don't care. I'll play something else. As long as
Mhm.
things are changing, I'm happy. Like
Yeah.
you can and I'm gonna like I'm completely honest. If they were to nerf Timo and make him worse all of a sudden, I'm still gonna find something good to play as long as other changes
Yeah.
happen. Like I don't hold on to pet decks and cards, so it's whatever. I just
Yeah.
want there to be things change. The one of the big problems with Azir Aurelia specifically is it completely stops all creativity and deck building because it pushes out anything that you're trying to be creative with. You have to be able to win on their turn and
Yeah.
your turn. Like you have to
Yeah.
not die both, and it pushes a lot of decks out of the meta just by bullying them out. It's
Yeah.
tough.
It raises the bar so high, unfortunately. And like, again, like you said, and I don't blame any. I mean, obviously, I really can't blame anyone for playing it. I literally played it to hit masters yesterday, and I played a lot of my climb. But like, it really is, it's unfortunate for anyone who's playing a ton of ladder. And I mean, what are you gonna do about it? There's nothing that we really can do except for voice our opinion in constructive ways. And I think, I'd love to have, another dev on at some point, if it's Ruben or Dovagetes or someone, that would be great to maybe get some insight directly, from the dev, because we can speculate and we can do this, that, or the other, but like at the end of the day, I think it's just nice to hear from them, because I think, like, the Reddit posts and even the preamble to this patch just really, like, it doesn't help the situation. It
It
doesn't
made
help
it
us
way
make
worse for
feel any
me.
better.
It made it way worse
Yeah,
because when I opened it up and saw this, I instantly my heart sunk and I read the whole thing. And as it went, I'm like, "There's not going to be any changes. There's going to be nothing." Like,
right.
and I got through it and I saw the changes. I'm like, "All right, nothing changed. The, nothing changed."
Yeah, it's just really it's really tough.
And
Unfortunately.
I don't like. I'm not used to this. Like, I'm not usually the gloom and doom. I'm not the negative guy. Like, I'm not. I don't like this. I feel bad for being so negative and beating a dead horse, whatever.
Yeah.
There's a saying that I think I just fucked up. But I don't have anything good to say for the first time in a very long time.
Yeah.
Makes me sad.
It is. And I mean, so what I
Except for
will say,
labs!
labs are
Labs!
great.
Woo!
Labs are definitely great. What I will say is this is a very, and I think Riot understands or at least I hope that the team understands and appreciates um the level that the situation is, right? Like,
Yeah, I
I,
hope so.
I, this is a time to rise to the occasion, right? Like, now I'm not expecting there to be like, okay, well, we're gonna do like a patch. We're gonna do like a mini
Like
patch
a
in
B
three
patch or
days,
something.
like a V patch, like they would do in TFT. That I don't think is reasonable. But like, I'd love to see. Honestly, I'd love to have Dovagetes just do like an interview with us and just have us be the voice of the community and tell that, because like, I think on the Reddit post, it just feels a little cold, right? Like you
And
said, it's like,
Reddit in general too. Like
yeah,
you're
the
trying to
text
speak to an
medium,
audience that's there to try to find fault.
right? And it I just want to like, it's tough when someone says things that are all objectively true, or at least can be true given the context that they put them in, right? I mean, like, well, I understand all this, but guess what? I'm not having fun. So what are you gonna do
Yeah.
about it? I I don't know. So I'll put a pin in it for now. At least we'll see. I'm hoping that there's gonna be some sort of
Yes.
response
Just
or
something.
something. Yeah.
I think this could be a serious turning point for the success or lack thereof of the game as a whole. Like
Yeah.
it was scary to me and sad to me seeing so many posts. Like, I mean, Mogwai, he's a good friend of ours. He's been on
Hmm.
the show. We chat, and his post today, he tweeted, "Guess it's time to find something else to play," and like he made a very sorrowing video today about. He even said his words were, "This might not be the game for me anymore if this is how balance is going to be handled," and like that kind of stuff worries me. Like to see it makes me
Yeah.
sad because he's been so passionate about the game, so passionate about the community, and
Hmm.
same with me. Like I put my heart and soul into this game since closed beta. I've
Yeah.
never had a negative thing to say about it. Like I've always been so optimistic about it, and this is the first time I'm like, I feel not happy to be playing the game. I'm not having a
Yeah.
good time.
Yeah. I'm just hoping that this, that we get something out of it, right? Like
Yeah.
a response, a hey, we see you, we hear you, stay tuned for maybe an update. I mean, I hope they
Just to
look
say something.
say something, and then I hope that they, um look at the cadence, right? Like this is not there's something wrong here, right? Either the cadence is unacceptable or or something the communication for it is unacceptable, right? Because like this ain't it. That's what it
Uh,
boils down to. Uh this patch and the way that this patch was handled, the amount of changes, the types of changes, the I personally believe the outcome of these changes, this just ain't it. Boil it
it,
down however you want. Explain to what I'll I'll look at any stats that you have. That's great, but this ain't it.
when
And
like every like community content creator that I know has said the same things about the patch. Like
yeah,
you can read, like you go and look at anyone who's a prominent or a known community member.
right,
Look at like it's Skarzig, Silver,
yeah,
Emotional,
yeah,
Swim, Mogwai. Every single person is saying the same thing. Like this ain't it. That
yeah,
you need to take that into consideration. Like
right.
maybe this ain't it.
That's got to
Maybe this
be
isn't the
yeah,
win.
yeah. It there's got to be something. Now, unfortunately, I think unless they do something drastic very quickly, this is going to be the patch
Hmm.
or the seasonal, which is coming up. The playoffs are the 19th or 17th, I think. It's
Yeah, it's
the
a
no, the
couple weeks,
19th.
3 or
Yeah,
4 weeks,
the
3 weeks.
the Swiss is the 19th and the playoffs are the 26th.
Yeah.
Um, so we're in it for a month at least, right?
Yep.
Which I think it sucks for ladder, right? It does, but what I don't, some people might say, okay, well, just leave that for the seasonal, but how, update the live game.
It can't. That
That
doesn't work.
that ain't it either. Let me tell you, that's
And I think the season will be fine. I mean, we've seen tournaments and competitive play. It's been okay. Like I don't think
yeah.
that tournament balance is that bad right now. I think it's actually in a decent spot.
It
Uh,
it
Ladder balance
it's
just kind
yeah.
of sucks.
Ladder balance is always it's always tougher. Tournament balance is nice. I think a lot of people are just doing an auto ban Aziralia, and then you kind of have more options from there. But then, like you kill the Apex Predator, and then what's next in line? Is it
Yeah.
TLC? Is it Thresh
Thresh
Nasus?
Nessus.
Is it now I have casted a few different Riot Lock formats in this patch, or not in the upcoming patch, but in the previous patch, and there was some pretty diverse stuff, which is great. Um, so yeah, I think the tournament meta is actually in a pretty all right spot, which again I don't think should be used to validate the uh, at all to
No,
validate the health of ladder because it's just completely different.
not at all. It should be the opposite because tournament players, if you're a tournament player and you're in it for competitive, you don't fucking care what the ladder meta is at all. Like if you love the game
Well,
and you're competing, like
y-
you'll find a way if you're trying to win.
yeah. Well, the problem is that you have to care about the
Yeah,
ladder
I
at
mean
least
you
to
have to
some extent
care.
for your seeding for seasonals, and also you can qualify for worlds on it, which again
Yeah.
goes back to the original premise of like there should, there is a disconnect and blah blah blah.
Yeah.
But yeah, at the end of the day, like this patch ain't it. Aside from the lab stuff, that stuff's awesome. Keep giving us more of that. But like the balance changes, not it. The like very few, and what's really interesting to me is that, and maybe we're just biased because we live it, we're in the community, we're in the thick and thin of it all the time, but like this felt like a time that they really could have made a splash with the changes.
Yeah.
Like, and it felt like
Easily.
it was really leading towards like, okay, let's roll up the sleeves a little bit. Community's not liking a Zerarelia. Let's really change it. And instead of doing that, they went back and they doubled down on the like 52% KEKW. And that I I hope that the community response as a whole, again, let's remove all of the shitty people being shitty and that
Yeah.
sort of stuff. But the
People who are
community
just being
sentiment as a
toxic.
whole, yeah, remove the toxicity. I hope that this sends a clear and concise message that like the 52% KEKW is a meme for a reason, because yeah, okay, is it objectively true? I'm assuming it is, unless they're lying about the stats. I'm not assuming that they're doing that. I'm
Yeah, I
assuming that the
wouldn't.
stats are
Yeah.
correct. But like that is only one factor, and I would argue it's not the most important factor,
No,
at least
it's
for
it's
ladder.
the 4-hour stream where I only play against 3 games that aren't a Zerarelia.
Yeah,
Like it, yeah, it doesn't even matter if I'm beating them every time. Just seeing that deck over and
yeah,
over and over, and I'm not beating them every time. No deck can beat them
yeah,
every time. It's literally impossible.
yeah.
That's not how card games work.
Right. So
Except for when we had Fizz TF meta, Lysandra Swain went completely undefeated against that deck. It just dumpstered it. It was the
yeah,
easiest climb I've ever had.
yeah. Um, so I won't harp on the patch anymore.
Yeah, it is what it is.
Yeah,
I think this is a pivotal moment for the game community and developers as a whole, and I hope
yeah,
it's taken seriously.
yeah, and yeah, I do too. But was there any
I think that's it. I mean, that
other
was the big
things? Yeah,
thing.
yeah.
That was
I
what
mean, it was the
happened.
patch. This is the patch episode. It's the one, right? Like, I'll be interested. I mean, we can talk more next week about like the
Fallout.
ramifications, fallout. Maybe we were overreacting. I'm completely open to that being the case.
Yeah,
Maybe Aziralia
maybe
dies. I
deck
don't know.
suddenly
I
doesn't
doubt it.
seem to be
But we'll
quick.
see. Hey,
I'm
we'll
open-minded.
definitely take that into account as a possibility.
Talia
But
Malphite's gonna rule the meta.
if only. But
That's
Saucy, where can people find you on the internet when you're not here on the show?
great question. You can find me, my website, saucymailman.com or saucy.live. I stream every day, Monday through Friday, a couple times, like twice a day. I'll also be playing Runeterra, potentially not as much, but still be doing TFT, scary games, and I'll do some Runeterra, depending on if I get completely sick of a Zero Rally.
Nice. Well, you can find me on the internet at _Blevins on Twitter, the Blevins without the underscore on Twitch. Yeah, you can also find the show at Rune Terrible on Twitter, twitch.tv/Rune Terrible, and youtube.com/C/Rune Terrible Radio. And of course, the best place to find all of the links to everything, including both of ours and the show links, discord.me/Rune Terrible Radio. It's also where the giveaways happen and all of the fancy stuff.
Yeah.
So make sure, if nowhere else, you are on the Discord, because that's just the best place to be. But that is going to be it for this episode. For Saucy, for our producer and production team, I'm the Blevins, and we'll be back next week to talk about some more Legends of Runeterra.